Today, class, we are going to talk about the water cycle and how water is purified. Yes.
Is that like a motorcycle?
No, close. A water cycle is how our water is cycled or processed through the atmosphere and how it gets into the air. Hold on one second, please. How it gets into the air and then comes down as rain. Yes, Caitlin.
What's a process?
A process is the order in which things happen. So, you pour a glass of water, step one. The water comes out, or you turn on the faucet, step one. The water comes out. Step two, you hold the glass in. The water goes in there. Step three. That is the process.
So kind of like instructions?
Yes, exactly. Kind of. So first of all, I want to ask you, where do you think water comes from into our homes?
The bathtub.
Pipes.
Pipes. Okay, and where do you think those pipes are if you can't see them?
Under a house?
Under the house, underground, right? And where else more directly does the water come from? So how does it get into the pipes, do you think? Nicole, do you have any idea?
The river.
That's one option. Rivers, streams. What's a really big body of water you can think of?
A lake?
Okay, that's another one. What's the biggest?
The ocean.
The ocean, yeah. Have either of you ever been to the ocean?
I went to Florida once.
You did? And did you taste the water? Did you smell it? What do you think ocean water would taste like?
It smelled like fish.
Fish?
It tastes like salt. I got
Salt?
it in my mouth.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And does your water at home taste like salt? No. So how do you think we get the water to taste as good as it does and get that salty taste out?
Take the salt out.
Do you have any idea how that might happen? No? Well, today we're going to review the water cycle. So I'm going to show you a diagram that shows you just how our water is processed through the atmosphere. And then we're going to read a book. Have you ever read Magic School Bus books?
Yeah.
Yep, we're going to read a Magic School Bus book that shows us exactly how our water gets to taste so good. So first, I want you both to look at the water cycle. You can see here,
How
there's
does
a
water
stream
go
and
up?
ocean. The water is going up through evaporation. So if you can see what do you think that is?
The sun.
The sun, right. And what does the sun do? When the sun's out, what is the temperature like?
Hot.
Hot. And so when it gets hot enough, the water evaporates into the sky. And then what do you think these little circles represent?
Clouds? Bubbles?
Close. Not bubbles, but it's water vapor. So like if you take a shower and you come out and then on the mirror it's foggy, what do you see running down sometimes?
Water.
Water. And that's because the water evaporated and then condensed on the mirror. So
Is
it's
it
kind
like
of
when my mom makes dinner and the pot, there's like steam coming from it?
Yes, exactly. So then the water comes over here to form the clouds. And then what comes out of the clouds?
Rain.
What are some other forms of precipitation?
Snow.
Where's precipitation?
Precipitation is anything that comes out of the clouds. So any way that the water is coming down. So like you said, snow, rain. What other what other kind of weather like that? Hail. And what is hail?
Ice balls?
Yep, it's kind of like big ice balls because that's when the temperature is really cold. So in Iowa, we see all of those kinds of precipitation. But if you were somewhere warm like Florida, let's say, you said you've been to Florida, what kind of precipitation would you see there?
Just rain, because my grandpa says it doesn't snow at his
Right.
house.
Exactly, because it's a little bit warmer. So now I would like each of you, I'm going to split it down the center here. So you are going to explain to me about evaporation and water vapor, and then you're going to explain to me the clouds forming and then what happens after that.
Okay, so water starts in the ocean, and the sun comes out and makes it really, really hot, and then water evaporates, and then it turns into little droplets that turn into clouds.
Yep, and water vapor I wouldn't describe it as droplets because when it's in the air, you don't see it. So if it's really humid outside, the air feels kind of wet, right? But you don't see the water droplets, it's invisible.
Okay.
Okay, and now what happens when
And then the cloud forms with the water droplets in it, and then they fall from the sky in either snow or rain or sleet or hail, and and then they go into our streams and lakes and oceans.
Okay, and then the whole thing starts back over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is always happening, which means that this resource, water, is not unlimited. We don't have an unlimited supply. We only have a exact amount. So it doesn't keep creating more and more water. We just keep using the same water over and over again. So from our streams and oceans and lakes and those kinds of things, the water is taken from there, and then it goes through the waterworks process. So we're going to read, and since you've read some Magic School Bus books before, you know that Miss Frizzle is a very strange kind of teacher. So we're going to start near the middle of the book, since you already know her story. And the class is in a bus on their way to the waterworks plant right now. It says, Miss Frizzle was the only one who didn't seem to notice the change. She just drove on in the middle of a bridge. The bus started to rise into the air. It went right up and into a cloud. So what do you think is happening in this on this page?
The bus is evaporating.
Exactly. Yep. And what will happen next?
Going to the cloud and then a way to fall down.
Yep. And what does that mean when it's falling down?
Precipitation.
Yes. Then Miss Frizzle did the weirdest thing ever. She told everybody to get out of the bus. The kids did not want to go, but Frizzle threatened to give extra homework if they didn't. Some kids stuck their heads out of the cloud and looked down. Would you get out of the bus if you were on a cloud? Yeah, neither.
Can you really stand on a cloud?
Probably not. Have you ever been in an airplane?
Yeah, we flew to Florida.
Yeah. And did you see the clouds? It looked like fog around you. Those were clouds. So if an airplane can go right through it, I don't think they'd be safe to stand on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just water vapor. So there were mountains down there, and the cloud was going higher every minute. It was getting colder too. All around us, drops of water began to form, and as the drops got bigger, we got smaller. So what's happening to them when they get smaller, do you think?
Then the fall.
With the...
Rain.
Yeah. Before long, each kid was the size of a raindrop. In fact, each kid was a raindrop. The drops began to fall. Miss Frizzle's class was raining. We fell into a clear mountain stream and began flowing down the mountainside. In no time, we reached the reservoir that holds water for our city. We were going into the water purification system. Do you know what purification means? It's to clean something, to make it pure so that there's no germs, nothing, no dirt in there. This class trip was not so boring after all. Miss Frizzle says, we have reached the reservoir, children. Follow me to the water purification system. The water in the reservoir was pretty dirty. We were covered with dirt and mud. Follow me to the mixing basin, shouted Miss Frizzle. In the mixing basin, a clumping substance called alum was added to the water. Here's the alum, these little white pieces. The alum formed globs, and all of the dirt and mud stuck to the globs. Onto the settling basin, ordered the Frizz. There, the globs sank to the bottom of the clean water, and the clean water flowed off the top. Now we were on our way to the filter. So we went from the reservoir to the mixing basin right here, where they're mixing up the alum and the mud and dirt stuck to it, and into the, what was it called? Settling basin. Yes.
Why is there fans in it?
It is mixing up the water and the alum so that it doesn't all sink to the bottom, because if it mixes it up, then the dirt's going around more and more likely to stick to the alum. This was the sand and gravel filter that takes out any impurities still in the water. We were impurities. We couldn't get through. Luckily, Miss Frizzle showed us a special way around the filter. When the water came out of the filter, it was sparkling clear. So here's some gravel and sand that the water has to go through, and nothing, no impurities, which is dirt, mud, anything like that, will follow it through. So it's almost pure. Miss Frizzle says, class, these layers of sand and gravel strain out the tiny spits of dirt left in the water, even most of the disease germs. In the pipe from the filter to a storage tank, a chemical called chlorine was added to the water. Where else